dear students, welcome to the lecture series of Advanced Java. Today with me Shruti Agnik, you are going to study in depth about Jstl Sql Tag Library. In this video lecture, you are going to study about what are standard tag library, that is what is a Jstl, and you are going to study in specific the Sql Tag Library. So let us begin with the simple introduction of a simple revision of Jstl. Jstl is nothing but a tag library which helps you to access a bean page in a JSP page. This is what we have studied previously since the last 2 to 3 video lectures. So here in this video lecture we are specifically going to focus on action tags which are of Jstl types, and in Jstl we are going to focus on Sql tag library. Sql, as the name suggests, is a tag library which helps you to connect with the database. So in this specific video lecture we are going to see or have a look at the basic tags which are necessary in order to do some kind of database connectivity, or to select from the database, or to update in the database. So we are in this lecture we are going to see the tags which are going to manipulate the database, or it is going to help you to define the database, or it is helping you to select from the database. So we are going to study a total of 5 different tags. The first tag is set data source, next is query, next is update, next is transaction, and param. As the name suggests, the first tag is helping you to set a data source or a specific table in a database on which you want to do some specific operation. The second is the query tag. It is helping you to select from the database. The update tag is helping you to insert, update, or delete from the table. The transaction is going to help you to fix a specific data source, and then you can perform any operation like be it select or be it insert, update, or delete. So transaction is going to help you to maintain the asset properties as well as fix a particular data source for operations. And the last is a param tag. It will work as a placeholder that you all had done using the prepared statement. So all this we are going to study in the next programming section. So without wasting any time, let's begin with programming. Welcome to the programming section of Jstl Sql tags. Before we begin implementing the tags, let me just tell you that I have created a simple JSP file, .jsp file, which is Sql Tag Library demo. Now that we are going to learn Sql tags, we need to know what our database is like. So this is my database, student database, in which I am having a table called as stud, and this table looks like name, surname, and age. Okay, so we need to insert 3 different things if at all we are inserting. So first let me set a data source. I will use the first tag. Before we move on to the details, I should let you know something which we have already done, that library we are supposed to include the Jstl library. Since we are using the Sql tag library, we are going to have a tag library directive in which we will keep prefix SQL, and URI will be https JSP Jstl SQL. So this is what my tag library will be. Now I can use a tag Sql Set Data Source. Now this set data source is having 5 different attributes. First attribute we will keep as a variable. This variable name we will give ds, which stands for data source. Second thing is we will give the driver. The driver is jdbc com.mysql.jdbc.driver. Next we are going to give the URL of the database, which is jdbc:mysql:/localhost colon 3306 colon student / student. Next we will give the username, which is root, and password, which is null by default. So these are the 5 parameters with which we can set a data source. So I have completely set my data source here. Now if you are using this com.mysql, you compulsory have to add one more library, which is your MySQL connector file, which you can get from here, add. Okay, so this is for the database and this is for Jstl. Now I can say that I have set up my data source. I know which database I want to communicate and using which driver, and I know the credentials with which I am supposed to communicate with the database. Next is I will use the Sql Query Tag. The Sql Query Tag is going to help me to select from the database. So I will fire the select query, select star from stud table. Okay, now after selecting, it has to be stored at a specific place, so we will keep aware. Let me name it query. Next is I need to tell where I am supposed to fire, on what data source I am supposed to fire the query. So data source, and data source you will write content of ds, not only ds, not just this variable, but content of this variable. So with this you are defining your query. This is how you can define queries. Now that you have fired your select query, all the results will be retrieved and stored in the variable called query. So I need to start printing the record from the query variable. So for that you require an iterator, and this iterator you can get from the core tag libraries for each tag. So I need to import a tag library for the core tags. So it is @taglib, prefix will be C, and URI will be HTTP core. Okay, so this is my basic core tag library. Okay, now I can use the for each. So C for each, inside for each I am going to write a variable where the data will be stored and from where I want to take the data. So content of everything is stored in the variable query, which is your this variable. Okay, and in that rows is a keyword that I am going to use. Okay, so all the data, all the rows data will be in your variable I. So I need to print from I. So value is equal to content of I dot field. First field is name, so I have written name. Okay, so this is my first field. Similarly, my second field, that was surname, and third field, that was age. Now let me run this simple program and check whether I am getting the results as expected. Yes. Okay, this is my name, this is surname, this is age. So this is the data from the table that I have printed. Is SQL update. Okay, so in my SQL update tag I can write insert query. So insert into stud values, first is name, so let me write name as ABC, surname as PQR, and age as 39. So this is the data that I want to insert. Okay, so this insert we will take in a variable, let us name it count, and we need to tell which data source you are supposed to deal with, that is DS. Okay, now what this count is giving, count is nothing but it is returning the number of rows affected. So we can just print for your information value content of count. Okay, now let me first comment the select part from here to here. Okay, now we shall run this part. It is returning 1, which means one row is affected. Let us check whether this row is inserted or not. Yes, ABC PQR 39, it has been inserted. Okay, the next tag that you will be learning is the Sql Param tag. I will just open the comments which I had made. Okay, and instead I will comment my update portion. Okay, now I want to specifically select a data from stud where age is equal to 39. This is the record that I want to select. Instead I will give a question mark here, and after this question mark I will be using my Sql Param tag, and inside this I will be giving name is equal to age, sorry, I will be giving directly value is equal to 39, and my param tag is done. Now I will run this code and check. See, ABC PQR 39. So this is how you can use a param tag. Next is your transaction tag, SQL transaction. Inside transaction you have a special data source property where I can specify the content of my data source. Now I do not need to worry of specifying the data source again and again. I can directly use this query here, the same query, without specifying this data source anymore. Okay, so this is going to work again. Let me write this statement after transaction. Okay, and let me run it. Right, so it is giving me the expected result of 39. Okay, because we are specifically selecting 39 here inside my transaction. If I change my query to this and if I remove this, it should give me all the records. Yes. Okay, so that's all for transactions from my side today. Thank you.